From the PEP Radio Newsroom, these are the stories we are covering at this hour. A divided U.S. Supreme Court allowed states to cut off Medicaid money to Planned Parenthood in a ruling handed down Thursday amid a wider Republican-backed push to defund the country's biggest abortion provider. The 6-3 opinion comes in a case that wasn't directly about abortion. It's instead about Medicaid funding for other healthcare services Planned Parenthood provides, like contraception, cancer screenings, and pregnancy testing. The ruling, authored by Justice Neil Gorsuch and joined by the rest of the court's conservatives, could have broader implications on Medicaid patients because it blocks them from suing to make sure they can visit the provider they choose. Public health care money generally can't be used to pay for abortions. Medicaid patients go to Planned Parenthood for other needs, in part because it can be tough to find a doctor who takes the publicly funded insurance, the organization has said. South Carolina's Republican governor says no taxpayer money should go to the organization. The budget bill, backed by President Donald Trump in Congress, would also cut Medicaid funding to Planned Parenthood. That could force the closure of about 200 centers, most of them in states where abortion is legal, the organization has said. Governor Henry McMaster first moved to cut off Medicaid funding to Planned Parenthood in 2018, but was blocked in court after a lawsuit from a patient named Julie Edwards. Edwards wanted to keep going there for birth control because her diabetes makes pregnancy potentially dangerous. So she sued over a provision in a Medicaid law that allows patients to choose their own qualified provider. South Carolina, though, argued that patients shouldn't be able to file those lawsuits. The state pointed to lower courts that have been swayed by similar arguments and allowed states such as Texas to block Medicaid funding from Planned Parenthood. The High Court majority agreed. Deciding whether to permit private enforcement poses delicate policy questions involving competing costs and benefits, decisions for elected representatives, not judges, Gorsuch wrote. In a dissent, joined by her liberal colleagues, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson said the ruling is likely to result in tangible harm to real people. It will strip those South Carolinians and countless other Medicaid recipients around the country of a deeply personal freedom, the ability to decide who treats us at our most vulnerable, she wrote. Public health groups like the American Cancer Society said in court papers that lawsuits are the only real way that Medicaid patients have been able to enforce their right to choose their own doctor. Losing that right would reduce access to health care for people on the program, which is estimated to include 1/4 of everyone in the country. Rural areas could be especially affected, advocates said in court papers. In other news from the Trump regime, the federal agency charged with protecting workers' civil rights has terminated a New York administrative judge who opposed White House directives, including President Donald Trump's executive order decreeing male and female as two immutable sexes. In February, Administrative Judge Karen Ortiz, who worked in the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's New York office, called Trump's order unethical and criticized acting chair Andrea Lucas, Trump's pick to lead the agency, for complying with it by pausing work on legal cases involving discrimination claims from transgender workers. In an email copied to more than 1,000 colleagues, Ortiz pressed Lucas to resign. Ortiz was fired on Tuesday after being placed on administrative leave last month. The EEOC declined Wednesday to comment on the termination, saying it does not comment on personnel matters. In response to the president's order declaring two unchangeable sexes, the EEOC moved to drop at least 7 of its pending legal cases on behalf of transgender workers who filed discrimination complaints. The agency, which enforces U.S. workplace anti-discrimination laws, also is classifying all new gender identity-related cases as its lowest priority. As if that were not enough, then there's this story. U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says the country is pulling its support from the Vaccines Alliance, Gavi, saying the organization has ignored the science and lost the public trust. A video of Kennedy's short speech was shown to a Gavi meeting in Brussels on Wednesday, where the organization that has paid more than 1 billion children to be vaccinated through routine immunization programs was hoping to raise at least $9 billion for the next 5 years. Kennedy, a longtime vaccine skeptic, mentioned Gavi's partnership with the World Health Organization during COVID-19, accusing them of silencing dissenting views and legitimate questions about vaccine safety. His speech also cast doubts on the diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis vaccine, which WHO and other health agencies have long deemed to be safe and effective. The only thing not safe and not effective is Kennedy being the U.S. Secretary for Health and Human Services. That's the news at this hour. Download the Live 365 app to take PEP Radio with you wherever you go. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.